like no gunshots, but they getting low, 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 low.
Hey, what is up guys? In this video I'm going to show you how to disassemble your PlayStation 3 FAT, and then we're going to change the thermal paste, and then we're going to reassemble it, because I remember in my last disassembly video with the Super Slim, a lot of people had trouble putting their console back together. So here I have a FAT, and I'm going to put the serial on screen right now. And this Ps3 is one of the latest models that were made for the FAT. It doesn't have the card reader slots, and it only has 2 USB ports. So some tools you're going to need a big Phillips head, you're going to need a small Phillips, you're going to need a Torx T10 security head, or T8 security. They both work, but it needs to be a security because the security head has a divot in the middle. You're going to need a flathead or a knife. You don't need tweezers, but it's easier to get the screws out of some places that you can't reach. Now, I recommend changing the thermal paste, so if you do take your Ps3 apart, it's highly recommended that you change the thermal paste. So here I got some Antec Formula 7 thermal paste here, and when you're buying thermal paste, you don't want to be cheap when it comes to this, because if you're cheap, it's not going to take the heat off the CPU and GPU properly to the heat sinks. So don't be cheap when it comes to thermal paste. And if you are changing your thermal paste, you're going to want to get a microfiber cloth, and if you don't have one of these, you can use tissue, toilet paper, but it's not recommended. I'd recommend just getting a microfiber cloth. And you're going to need some a high percent solution of alcohol. The higher the better, and this is optional. You can get compressed air to clean your Ps3, but it's probably better just to use a vacuum. Alright, so to start with the disassembly, you're going to go ahead and on the bottom side of the PlayStation, if it sits vertical, where the words are in the correct position, go ahead and get your flathead or knife and pop out this panel here. By the way, if you are going to disassemble your Ps3 and you bought the protection plan from the PlayStation Store, this will void your warranty, so I wouldn't recommend doing this, because you have to take the warranty sticker off. Alright, so there's going to be a blue screw here. Go ahead and remove that with the small Phillips head. Let me just make sure you guys can see. Alright. And I might pause once in a while in the video just because I have to keep checking the camera to make sure you guys can see. Because the Ps3 FAT is a really big console, it's hard to get the whole thing on my camera. Let me just focus that. Alright, so once you remove the hard drive, it slides right out. It's pretty easy. Now, right here is where the warranty sticker is going to be. Go ahead and peel that off, so that will avoid your warranty if you take that off, but I don't have, this warranty expired a long time ago, and I don't have the protection plan, so it doesn't really matter for me. So go ahead and take that sticker off. Again, get your flathead or knife and pop out this little plastic tab. Keep in mind that if you do not have the same serial number PlayStation as me, it may look a little bit different, but it should be somewhat similar, so if it doesn't look exactly the same, don't worry about it. It's going to be pretty obvious to find out what I'm talking about. Also, by the way, this is the 80 gig model of the PlayStation. The last model was, I think, the 160, so this is one of the latest ones. Alright, so once you pop out that plastic tab, go ahead and get your Torx T10 or T8 and remove the screw in there. And now this whole thing, this top, this is kind of like a panel. It's really thin. Just slide it this way. Now you just kind of move it back and forth, and you can pop the screw out. And then slide this back, and it should come right off. And make sure you guys can see. Alright, next there's going to be 7 screws holding this, the top of the PlayStation 3. Now there's going to be 2 different lengths of screws. Now the one that's the shortest one will always go in the top right where the S is pointing. So if it's different for your PlayStation, wherever the S is with the arrow, that's where the smaller screw goes. So I'll show you in a second. Alright, so as you can see right here, this is a longer screw compared to this screw. So there's only one small screw on this model of the PlayStation, but where the small screw goes is an S with an arrow, so that's how you'll know where that one goes. And go ahead and put those aside and take up the rest of the screws. Alright, so once you've removed all those 7 screws, now go ahead and get your small Phillips head, and there's going to be like a small indent on the back, top right, with the console, the front of the console here, so this is the back. So just kind of push it in and work it around a little bit, and if you kind of push up on the left side, you'll feel that it will just release because there's a clip holding it down, and just pull it up. It might be a little stuck if you've never opened it before. And just lift it up from the back, and then lift up, and it'll come off like that. Alright, so now we got to the power supply, the optical drive. So what you have to do next is we have to remove the power supply. So go ahead and get your big Phillips head. Make sure you guys can see. So on camera, if it's hard to see, there's a silver screw right here and one right here. Go ahead and remove both of those. Let me just... So you'll see that there's a fine threaded screw, and then there's a screw that's just flat on top. So the ones that are flat halfway through are the ones that go on the sides of the power supply, and the fine threaded screws, they go in the fine threaded screws go in the front and the back. So there was a fine threaded screw in the front. It's really easy to see. Now this is where it's a little hard to see. Alright guys, I'm back. So I had to move the camera. So there is a screw right here and one down here. I don't know if you could see it. It's just right next to it. It's just lower. Go ahead and remove both of these. Now these both are fine threaded screws. And you'll notice that there's going to be 2 long fine thread screws and 1 short one. So the short one would obviously go into the lower, where the lower one is, because it wouldn't reach on the top one. And if you're a little confused, you'll see when I put it back together. Alright guys, so next what you're going to do, there's going to be a cable going into the power supply. Go ahead and really lightly rock it back and forth, and it will release from the connector. You just don't want to pull too hard and straight out because you could rip the wires out of the connector here. And then go ahead and pull it out of the motherboard. Next, what you're going to want to do is, this is a little complicated to get on camera, but you're going to want to get your hand kind of underneath the power supply, and you're going to want to lightly push up because there's prongs for the 12 volt power that go into this. I don't know why they have it set up this way, but if you lightly pull up, it'll just release. Then on the back of it, there's a clip for the power, and just push that clip down and it'll come out. Just like that. So go ahead and put this aside. Alright, so once you get that removed, next we have to take out the optical drive. So there's going to be a ribbon cable right here. Alright, so there's going to be a ribbon cable right here. Go ahead and lift up this black clip where it enters. If you can't really see, it's pretty obvious what you have to do. So lift up that black clip. From on top of the ribbon cable is going to be this kind of black plastic thing. You could handle it from here. So go ahead and pull it back a little bit and it'll slide out. Next, put the black clip down so you don't damage it, and you can just let that sit there. Now we have to remove the power for the optical drive. Go ahead and hold it right here from the wires and lightly wiggle it back and forth. And it'll just come out like that. So after you remove those 2 cables, go ahead and just lift up the optical drive. There's no screws holding this down. Put that aside. Alright, so now we're down to the shield of the motherboard. So next what you're going to want to do, get your small Phillips head and remove, there's going to be 2 screws on top of where the hard drive enters. There's one next to the 12 volt power supply and the optical drive ribbon cable. And once you remove those 2 screws, go ahead and just lift up this top of the hard drive protection kind of metal shield, And what I recommend doing is just leave the screws inside of the case so you don't mix them up with any other screws. And go ahead and put this aside. Alright, next what you're going to want to do is right in the front here, there's going to be a smaller screw, so there's going to be 4 right here. There's going to be 1 where the metal starts, there's going to be 1 right on the board here, and there's going to be 2 in the back. So there's going to be 1 right in the middle here. Go ahead and remove this one. Now this is a fine threaded screw, so keep it separate from all the other ones. And then the 2 in the back, go ahead, remove those. They are also fine threaded. And remove the screw holding the Wi-Fi antenna and Bluetooth antenna. So this should come right out, lifting it up from the left. And as you can see, it's connected to the motherboard guard. Just kind of wiggle it and take it off gently. You don't want to bend it. And you can put this aside. Alright, next, go ahead and get your fat Phillips head. And there's going to be a screw right where on the motherboard right here. Go ahead and remove this screw. There's going to be 1 right here where the metal starts. And there's going to be 4 along the edge here. Also, if you think you're going to get kind of confused with all the screws that you have, just an easy way to remember where they go is that all the fine threaded screws, where they go in, it's etched into the metal here. Anywhere where there's an M with an arrow, that's where the fine threaded screws go. And if it's just an arrow, that's where the bigger screws go. So that's how you'll see that on every Ps3. It'll have some type of etch in it. Alright, so after you remove all those screws, next we have to remove the pressure plates on the heat sinks and the CPU and GPU. So go ahead and remove these. Alright, so after you remove those 2 heat pressure plates, in the back here is the fan connector. Go ahead and pull that out. Alright, after you get that out, now there's going to be a yellow and green wire. I'm not sure if you guys can see on the camera, but you'll see it. It's pretty easy to see. It's a big wire and it's been grounded to the frame of the motherboard, so go ahead and remove this screw. And you'll know that this screw goes here because it has a washer on it that can't get removed. So go ahead and put that aside. Alright, so after you remove those, all those screws, now you should be ready to take off the top panel here. So just lift up the top metal panel and lift up from the front, and it should just release. Just kind of work your way. Now this is where you want to be really gentle, because if you've never changed your thermal paste, it's going to feel like it's stuck. But for me, I changed it a couple of days ago. And so mine's not stuck, but what you're going to want to do is get your thumb on the left side, lift it up, and just work your way this way, adding just a little bit of pressure, and eventually it'll just pop up. You don't want to just rip it up, because you don't want to rip off the chips for the heat for the CPU and GPU. So here, I don't know if you could see, there's the thermal paste that I just put on, and it actually looked pretty good for my second time doing it. And so go ahead and put the motherboard aside. Alright, so now we're down to the bottom shield of the motherboard. Now there's no screws holding this. Go ahead and just lift this up. Should come out pretty easy. Lift it up from the front. Alright, so now we're down to the heat sinks and the fan. Now there's only a few screws holding this down. So get your big Phillips head and remove the screw right here. So remove those 4 screws that are in the corners of each, in the bottom part of the PlayStation. Now in the back of the PlayStation here, this panel here with the power supply that's in it, just lift this straight up and it should come out. Put that to the side, and now just lightly pick up this the fan casing. This whole thing should just release pretty easy, just like that. So now here's your fan. You can clean it. I would recommend you clean it because it's probably really dusty. Alright, so now we're down to the heat sinks. These there's nothing holding these down, and they just come out. So go ahead and just take them out and put that aside. So I'm gonna end the video here, and I'm gonna link on screen to the next part of this video because I don't know how long my videos can be on YouTube, so I don't want to make a long video and then have to redo it. So I'm gonna have a link on screen right now to the next part of this video. So thanks for watching, guys. Give this video a like, and if you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll be happy to respond and help you out. So thanks for watching, guys.